Hey, how's it going? Today, we're going to go over this 1997 Ford Thunderbird with the 3.8 V6. We're going to continue to troubleshoot the overheating condition. Now, we changed the water pump and the thermostat, and so far, as long as you're driving, it doesn't overheat. But when you stop or get into very slow traffic where you don't have radiator cooling air, it'll start to overheat. And that's when I discovered the electric fan is inoperable. It's not working. The electric fan is supposed to come on at 210 degrees or when the air conditioning switch is turned on. It's supposed to come on in those two situations. Well, let me show you what I found. Here's the Thunderbird. Some issues we found is I hooked direct power to the fan and it made some really abnormal noises when I turned it on. So the fan is bad. And I discovered why it didn't turn on is because this fuse had blown right here. I put a new fuse in. Tomorrow I get a new fan, and we'll see if that fixes the fan problem, and that will fix the overheating condition in this car. So, just to let you know, on a 95 Ford Thunderbird, the fifth fuse, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth space is the cooling fan fuse. And in a pinch, you could change this fuse, because that's a 60 amp too. You could trade these two fuses, because this is the one for the headlights. If the problem happens during the day, you can switch these two fuses, and you'd be able to have your cooling fan. And then you'd have to find another 60 amp fuse at night to run the headlights, which is right here. Well, so far, that's the problem. And of course, the car has more problems that just showed up. Like when it had a coolant leak, some of the coolant got onto the fuel injector wiring harness, and it created a multiple cylinder misfire. So I've got to take the top part of the intake manifold off tomorrow when it cools down and check the wiring harness and each fuel injector plug to make sure they're in there good and there's no wiring issues on the fuel injection wiring harness. Or this coil pack could have issues, or the ignition wires could have issues. Those are the three probable causes for a multiple engine misfire. Now, my code reader picked up a cylinder number 4 misfire, but when I was listening to the engine, it sounds like more than just one cylinder. I'll let you guys hear it. Just a second. Let's start the car. I'll let you hear the multiple misfire that just showed up out of the blue. Isn't that my luck? Start the car. You can already hear the misfire. But when I rev it up, you can really hear the misfire. Here we go. Not only can you hear the misfire, but you can see the engine vibrating a little bit because it's kind of like having 6 workers and you got 2 lazy workers, so the other 4 have to pick up for the other lazy 2 to make the engine run, so the engine struggles. So this has at least 2 cylinders that are not working right now. Hear that choppy acceleration? That means that at least 2 cylinders are not firing, or they are misfiring. So I have to take the intake manifold off, check the wiring harness on the injectors, check the ignition wires in the coil pack, and that will square away the multiple misfires, because these plugs are not even 2 years old. You can tell a misfire because look at the hood shake. The hood shakes. Everything shakes on a misfire because you got 4 hard-working cylinders and 2 lazy ones. So like I said, it's like having 2 lazy workers and 4 hard workers. So the 4 hard workers got to pull the load for the 2 lazy ones, and you got to struggle an engine. You can hear it better now, listen. That's a huge misfire. So, what started out as a simple overheating problem has turned to a misfire problem, an electric fan failure, a fuse blown on the electric fan. So, rarely does a person like me ever get lucky where it's just one problem, like just a thermostat or just a water pump or just a cooling fan. It's always multiple issues. I never get lucky and it's just one thing. And there's other problems with the car, which we're gonna make further videos on. The rear bearing sounds like it's failed on the driver's side, because when you accelerate and you put the car into neutral, it'll slow down all by itself and you hear this bearing noise. So the bearings are almost to the point of failure. So when you have a car, you want to kind of look at everything and not wait until there's 20 problems before you bring it to somebody to fix. You want to do it when there's like one problem, then you fix the one problem and you drive it and all that. But sometimes these cars like to have multiple problems when they're brought in for one problem. So hopefully that helps some of you guys out for troubleshooting some of these stubborn fuel-injected cars. There's never a simple solution to a problem, and there's never just one problem to solve. At least that seems to be my experience. Let me know in the comments how your experiences have been. Do you ever get lucky and just have the one problem fix the entire thing? One solution for one problem? Or do you got multiple problems for one problem? You know, multiple problems when the car came in for one thing. So, you guys have a great day and mad boosting.